I was
Just tell him.
really surprised at the news of Robert Saleh yesterday.
Of course you were.
But not surprised in the sense that he got fired. Surprised in the sense that it happened as quickly as it did. And then you see the reporting coming out afterwards about, well, you know, he was planning on moving on from Nathaniel Hackett, or at least taking away play calling duties from him. And then he went into a meeting himself right after that and found out that he was going to be let go. Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets, actually spoke yesterday to the media and explained his decision.
That this is one of the most talented teams that has ever been assembled by the New York Jets. I wanted to give this team the most opportunity to win this season. I feel that we had to go in a different direction, and that's why I did that today. This change, the change that we made today, that I made, I believe will bring new energy and positivity that will lead to more wins starting now.
So,
And whoever, like Ulrich?
Jeff Ulbrich.
Ulbrich.
Hey, that's a Hawaii.
It's not your it. It's not your it.
No, that's a Hawaii Rainbow Warrior, by the way. Should be pointed out.
Yeah, well, he better be chasing. He better be chasing the end of that rainbow.
He's looking for the pot of gold.
Let me tell you something. That man said, "I made a decision that will start leading to wins now."
What day?
Today. Today.
Just you have at it. I'll follow you up on this one.
Again, I said it while Jonas was doing his read that dysfunction will supersede anything that anyone does. I don't care who you put at coach. I don't care who you put at quarterback. It's not going to work. Now, this man sat here and said, we're going to start winning now. Are they going to beat Buffalo on Monday? Doubt it. Do they have a chance to beat the Steelers? Sure, they have a chance to beat the Steelers, but will they beat them? Probably not. Okay, then they get a nice little reprieve. Then Woody can say, you know what? Well, it was only 2 games. It was only 2 games that we lost. We needed to give it time to get his feet under him. And when I meant we're going to win now, I meant when we played the Patriots. Oh, okay, you got one against the Patriots. But then you have the Houston Texans next. And, oh, by the way, the Cardinals just beat a pretty good San Francisco 49er team. They're a pretty good team. Oh, by the way, the Colts aren't going to be a walk in the park. They're not too bad either. They got a guy by the name of Flacco that's in there just in case the dude Richardson doesn't make it back. Pretty decent team. Seattle Seahawks, same deal. Pretty decent team. You are not in a position to actually assume or think that your coaching change is going to lead to different results. Now, you may get that initial pop, boom, like we got a new coach. Now Aaron Rodgers is poised because he got his way again or whatever it may be, and him and Nathaniel Hackett get to do what they want to do until just stay out of the way and run the defense. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody, including Woody Johnson, if anybody thinks that this team is going to magically turn it around, you need to take a look in the mirror and you need to identify what it is that has you approaching life the way that you're approaching life, because it doesn't work that way. It is not a magical fix. Oh, Robert Saleh was the problem. He's got to go. Okay. And in the season, by the way, because here's the thing. If you had a problem with Saleh to the point of where you would fire him after how many games? 5 games? What, 4 games?
5 games.
5 games. If you had that much of an issue with him, when Aaron Rodgers showed you that his strong hand was strong and went to Egypt and didn't want to do the training camp or the mini camp, that should have been when you let him go. Let him go then. Give the coach who's going to coach an opportunity to actually be able to build on some momentum as to what you're going to do. Now, I will say this. They do have the idea of the understanding and the familiarity of Hackett and Rodgers. But what does that mean for the rest of your team? Because your defense has underperformed, like literally grossly underperformed. They have not lived up to expectations. And your offense has not lived up to expectations. And Nathaniel Hackett, I believe, is the one that's been calling the plays. So if you think something's going to magically change, a shift is going to take place. Robert Saleh was a cancer. He was the problem. He was the one that brought this team down to its knees. If you believe that, then God bless you and good luck with your life. There you go. You can have it, Q. You can have it.
Well, I've kind of got just more questions than anything else. I look at this and I wonder, did ultimately Woody Johnson make this decision? You read different reports, you read different questions about why now, why after a game over in London. Is it because he was the former U.S. ambassador and he's around all his buddies over there and you have this disappointing loss? Mind you, it's not really disappointing. I mean, Minnesota's one of the best teams in the NFL. That being said, game didn't go how you wanted it to go. Is that part of it? Is it because it's early enough you still have a chance to climb back into this if you can create a spark? And it felt like this team was devoid of any sort of energy or spark. So maybe you get a little bit of that bounce. Did this have to do with Aaron Rodgers? Was this one of those scenarios where he calls up Woody Johnson and says, you got to get rid of this guy? Or is it the fact that Saleh didn't want to fire Nathaniel Hackett, was staying loyal to him, and instead wanted to push for Todd Downing to call plays, which it sounds like Jeff Ulbricht's going to do that anyway. Maybe that's going to be more the case. Whatever the case may be, I just wonder why they feel like this is going to do anything other than create dysfunction, create distractions, create issues for their organization. I mean, I'll pose this question. When's the last time a team fired a coach and made the playoffs?
Bisaccia. But, I mean, that was, 2021, and I can't think of a lot of other examples after that. Like, he took over for Gruden, and they went to the postseason, but...
Which, by the way, fired because of something else that kind of came up. It wasn't really in regards to, like, performance.
Right.
And this feels like it's more performance-based. But it doesn't feel like Robert Saleh, since Aaron Rodgers has gotten there, has been the head coach that's totally in control. It feels like it's more about Rodgers, and obviously Rodgers has Woody Johnson's ear. And remember, this is a very, very different structure with the Jets compared to what the Packers used to be. Even if the Packers, even if he wanted to, try to buddy up to someone, there's a board, it's publicly owned. The Packers make much slower decisions. He understands when he went to the New York Jets, as long as he has Woody Johnson's ear, he can enact whatever change he wants with a snap of the fingers.
And he used the fans in Green Bay, he used that public in Green Bay the same exact way.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I don't know how Jets fans feel about him. I don't know if they...
Well, it doesn't matter, right? Because he has the owner. So he doesn't have to leverage the fans.
But the owner also has listened to the fans in the past, which is why he's made, which is why there's been dysfunction, right? There's always been some degree of dysfunction. I just look at like who could be the ultimate culprit of their team struggling right now. And I wonder what percentage is on Robert Saleh versus, I don't know, Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas has made it through multiple regimes now. I mean, at some point, like, what's his role in all this? Just building the roster, that's it? It seems odd, the timing. It seems odd that it had to be Saleh when it feels like it should be Hackett, if anyone, who's just not a good play caller. He might be a good quarterback coach. He might be good buddies with Aaron. He's not a good offensive mind. He's just not.
I had forgotten until I had read this yesterday that he had never called plays in Green Bay. Like, so this, like when he came over here and started or to the Jets and started calling plays, he'd never done it before. And so when you hear the report come out that Saleh wanted to either fire him or remove play calling duties from him and give him to Todd Downing, and then right after that gets clipped himself and escorted out of the building reportedly.
Can I just add to y'all's point, especially to Q's point? You know, the one constant that isn't up for debate, that's been a part of all of it, is the owner.
Oh,
that's the name. That's the name that has, because you know what we conveniently do, and the media is good at it, the fans are good at it, everybody's good at it. Everybody be raining down on Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones. Jerry is the problem. Jerry is the problem. Who else is the problem? I don't know. Jerry Jones. Maybe it's McCarthy. Maybe Jerry Jones has always been the constant with the whatever you see take place in Dallas. And you know what? Jerry Jones owned it on the radio. He did it. I own it. Woody Johnson is the consistent, and Woody Johnson is his own problem.
He's a disaster.
That's the bottom line. That just has to be stated.
It takes a special kind of dysfunction to chase off Belichick and Parcells. He did that. Like, Woody Johnson was at the helm when that stuff happened. And you see all these years later that they're still going through this myriad of coaches, all the back and forth.
I watched it happen, bro. I was a part of – I had more. I've said this story. We've been on air long enough where here's a repeat story. I was on an organization where I had more head coaches than I did years in the league at one point.
Who? What team?
What do you mean?
What team?
The Redskins at the time.
God.
Yeah.
They're now the Commanders now, but they were the Redskins back then. And I had more head coaches than I did years in the league. For the years that I was an all-pro and went to the Pro Bowls, I had a different defensive coordinator every single season.
Are you a coach killer?
I mean, buddy, you're speaking to someone who played for the Browns. All right,
okay, there you go. Well, join on in.
If we want to share these war stories,
I got enough space on this soapbox, Queen.
It's like Jaws where you're comparing scars.
I got enough space on this.
You want to talk about
soapbox.
head coaches, DCs, throw in general managers. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, look how many different general managers they've had.
Dang, I did have the same general manager.
And here's the thing for me is, think about it. I had 3 coaches in Denver in 2 years. I get traded to Denver. Josh McDaniels gets fired. Eric Studesville comes in. The next year, John Fox is hired. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you, man, when you see dysfunction, and here's the thing. What's really interesting about this is New York comes to mind. The Jacksonville Jaguars are another team that comes to mind, even though they got to win this past week. You know, you heard Woody Johnson say this is the most talented roster we've ever assembled. Who else said that this offseason?
Oh, Shad Khan.
Shad Khan.
Dang.
Part of the issue, I think, what you're starting to see or what's being revealed is David Tepper talking to you.
Dang.
Every one of these owners that meddles, Jimmy Haslam talking to you. Every one of these owners that meddles in this, you end up not being any good. You just do. Like, this is not where you made your money. This is not what you're good at. What I don't understand, talking to you owners right now, what I don't understand is you have made millions upon millions, maybe billions of dollars. And you're smart enough to know what you don't know. And what do? You hire someone to go get you those answers to figure it out. Yet when it comes to professional sports, you then meddle in it. You get involved. You act like all of a sudden you're an expert because you're smart in some other capacity, smart in some other realm. That is not football. That's not how it works. This is not a boardroom somewhere in Manhattan. This is a different world. As LaVar would say, it's the Serengeti.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how to understand that. They've got to do a better job of hiring people and stop meddling, stop being involved, let the people work, let the football people do their thing, and let them run it. And don't let a player overextend his power. Let the head coach, let the general manager, let them do their thing. I was at the Jets for half a year. Upon walking in there in 1 week, I could tell there was dysfunction there between the head coach and the general manager. You could just tell there was a lack of communication. Didn't feel like they were on the same page. It was that sort of kind of tense feeling, the way the team was and players were around kind of everything. You just get that sense and a feel when you go to different organizations. And to me, it's a top-down deal from the ownership and how it impacts everyone else in the building. And for some reason, these owners, they keep thinking they have all the answers. And that's just not the case, man.
I feel, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to fanboy up for Robert Saleh because he had his shortcomings. It's documented on this show. We talked about the Zach Wilson handling, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Not great. I mean, there's a lot of moments there where you look back, the record, everything that came along with it. But I do feel like I kind of have some sympathy towards Robert Saleh in the sense that it felt like he was, and we talked about this last week, totally doormatted on his way out of the door, where he had to backtrack on comments about Rodgers going to Egypt and smoking weed with a camel during the offseason. He had to backtrack on the comments about the cadence. He was on the sidelines trying to give him a hug, and Rodgers shoved him away. Like, just to see how all that play out, like, he was totally powerless towards the end. And I think he wanted them to be so good, and he was so desperate for it that he was just willing to accept it and keep his mouth shut because, look, as long as if we win games, I'm going to get to keep my job.
Well, that wasn't the case.
I know. And now I just wonder who's going to be the first, because he probably can't go public or else I don't know if that's breach of contract and he's not going to be able to get the rest of whatever he's owed by the Jets, but who's going to be the first to get the real story from Robert Saleh? Because he's going to have some things to say. Jay Glazer spoke with him, I guess, and Robert Saleh was shocked at the decision. I just wonder at what point.
That's not how it works.
At what point does he start to air people?
It doesn't. No, it's not going to be an airing out. Because
you don't think so?
No, because that severance package is going to be pretty strong.
I mean, he could anonymously go to a reporter and just say, "Here's the truth."
That's not how it works.
You can't say a bad word, man.
Damn it!
That's not how it works. You're not going to hear anything.
Nothing defamatory in nature. You can't do it. I'm telling you. If you want all that cash.
I mean, it's true because
cash money.
Get that cash.
You know who's been collecting
cash money.
You know who's been collecting checks? You never heard a damn thing from? Adam Gase. Adam Gase probably has a lot of stories. Haven't heard anything from him. Just kind of sitting back.
I do wonder what he's thinking right now. I do wonder. I'm going to have to reach out to Goose.
It's wild, man.
As much as I'm surprised.
Just now? Did Brady just flex on us right now?
He was my quarterback coach.
Got to reach out to
What up, Goose?
What up, Goose? What up, Goose? What's happening, Goose?
Yeah, it's
he's out there
Q's
somewhere.
QB coach, baby.
But there's a list of people
He's
who are
sitting there
wondering.
listening to the show, laughing right now. Like, I'm good.
But
bro.
think about what do you think Joe Douglas is thinking
I'm
right
pretty
now?
good.
Joe Douglas just keeps kind of flying.
Joe
under the
Douglas
radar.
is like, whoo. Hey, Aaron.
He's like Trent Baalke down there in Jacksonville.
Hey, Aaron, I got these.
Keeps dodging around.
I got this cheeseburger for you, Aaron. You want this cheeseburger?
You know the part on Boogie Nights where Don Cheadle goes into the donut shop and all of a sudden there's a robbery and everybody gets killed except him? Like Joe Douglas probably looking around going, what happened here? Like he's got blood all over him and he's just going to walk out with a bag of cash. Like I have no idea what just happened here.
Hey.
But,
Good job, Joe. Whatever it is you doing, keep doing it.
Do we not want to play any sound from Jeff Ulbricht's press conference? Nothing?
Yeah, we have, what do we want to go with Ulbricht there, Lee? You call it. His relationship
Lee,
with
you've listened to all
Rodgers,
this, right?
His relationship with Rodgers, or you want team changes? Which do you prefer? All right, so we're going to go. This was Jeff Ulbricht being asked about potential changes on the staff.
When it comes to the team underperforming this season, do you think there has to be radical changes, or do you think you guys have to do what you've been doing but do it better?
I think everything's on the table right now. We're not playing to our potential. We're not. We're too talented to be putting the product we put out there the last couple of weeks, especially. So we got to take a hard look at everything and be honest with ourselves.
So there he is, well respected in the building.
Sounds like Aaron Rodgers. They got to be held accountable, except Aaron.
But hey, does he have a good relationship with Aaron Rodgers though?
Oh yeah, I mean,
does he?
Coach, you tell
Lee,
us.
does he?
Does he?
You tell us,
I
Coach.
don't know.
He's one of those guys that has, he's just unbelievable experience, and he's seen this game at the highest level for a long time. So he's a guy with a lot of ideas and really positive feedback about a lot of different things, whether it be meetings, practice, game planning, scheduling, all of it, So he will be a vital resource for me in that way, for sure.
They're screwed. They're screwed. They're so.
How about this?
Aaron that came up in there and took them boys hostage. Dang.
I know we've got other subjects, but let's take a break. Let's come back and continue the conversation because I got some more questions too.
God dang, I got questions
It
too.
is,
I got conclusions as well.
It is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe here on Fox Sports Radio.
Hey, LaVar, tell them about dysfunction in teams.
I mean, we've been talking about it the whole time.
No, tell them about dysfunction in teams.
Your talent cannot outperform the dysfunction. Just know that. I don't care how good you think you are or how great you think you are or maybe are. It will not outperform the dysfunction.
Lee, this is the only time someone's ever going to throw you into the same category as Woody Johnson and Shad Khan and David Tepper. But you're following the same track record, all right, of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yep.
Or more alarming, maybe you're expecting the same result.
I mean,
maybe I like the dysfunction.
Hey, I mean, some people need it.
That crazy look in their eye.
Some people.
No. I'm telling you, man.
You know it's on air right now. It's on air. Hey, man, it was nice knowing you, though, my G.
Check that door for heat, Lee. Go back clear away from that as fast as you can. It is
backdraft.
Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, Fox Sports Radio. By the way, 15 minutes from now, end of an era in not only the, I guess, world of sports and entertainment. We will talk about that here for you again 15 minutes from now here on FSR. So we were continuing the discussion with the New York Jets, and I want to throw this question at you guys because I was thinking about this as well, too. If Rodgers doesn't want to have any visible blood on his hands, they have to at least take away play calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett. Because if this is true and Robert Saleh was going to do it, and then right after the meeting to announce that he was taking away play calling duties and giving them to Todd Downing, they fired Robert Saleh.
That damage is already done. But
okay.
I'm gonna let Q go. And then I'm gonna play off a Q. I'm gonna let you take this one, but
I don't know that Jonas was done.
Okay. Well, I'm just.
It looked like. Were you not done?
Well, the last thought on it would be, and again, there's been so many different reports on this. Jordan Schultz, who does a lot of work for FS1, reported that Saleh and Rodgers' relationship was actually in a really good place at the time of this happening. For what it's worth, so.
I was going to point to comments made by Chase Daniels. Some guys call him Chaz. But Chase on, I believe it's called The Facility, he defined Aaron Rodgers as a coach killer. That's just the name of the show. Oh, okay. He defined him as a coach killer, dating back to his time with Mike McCarthy, dating back to, I guess, now and how this has worked out. I'm not sure what other evidence he provided to that, but I just find it interesting that we're taking this hard stance on what Aaron Rodgers is as a quarterback because he's been so open with us about everything outside of being a quarterback. We at times we want players to show us who they are off the field, not just when they put the helmet on. And in this instance, you have an example of a player who has talked about his overall health in regards to his vaccination status or lack thereof and thoughts on that. He's given you this insight into his journey as an individual and how he's trying to discover himself and figure things out and how he sees stuff, and whether it's ayahuasca, whatever. I look at it and I go, isn't this always what reporters are frustrated by? When players give the company line or that canned response or a bad interview and don't say anything. He's the exact opposite of that. He the Pat McAfee show has benefited mightily from his presence on there, and he'll be on there today. But I sit there and I see all these people now who criticize the guy because he's open and he speaks his mind and he tells you who he is. And yet then when things don't go right in football, it's like they hammer away and they start defining what he is now because of all this. If he didn't share anything about his personal life, do you think he would be as polarizing to people?
No.
Probably not. Like, there's a sector of people who don't follow football but probably know that he said he was immunized instead of saying he was vaccinated. Like, there's people who have no idea about Aaron Rodgers as a football player. They just know that he didn't get vaxxed, right? Like there's that sector of people who probably don't like him for it. There's probably some people who are diehard football fans, but just because he went and did some ayahuasca or something or went to Egypt, he's out. He's not my guy. That's the tough thing for me with all this is you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't beg for wanting to have a player who's so open, who's so honest, who's forthcoming to what's on their mind. But then when you get it, sit there and ridicule them for giving it to you. And so that's where I like the whole coach kill thing. I'm like, well, all right, they've won a Super Bowl. He's won multiple MVPs, everything else they've done. Is that really accurate? Do you just lob up something because it's going to draw headlines and people are going to listen to it? Like, do you even know the guy? But you just want to call him a coach killer? It sounds like it's a desperate plea for someone to listen to him. And there's not really facts based behind it, even though he said it's all factually based, so I can say this. Well, it's really not. Because there's a disagreement between him and Mike McCarthy? Like, okay. I just, unless he knows something, maybe he's played for the Jets. Maybe he's got some ears there, someone has, and someone's told him something. But that's the part of it that I find interesting, is that now everyone's got an opinion on it just because the guy's been open with everyone from the get.
I'll say this. If it was just limited to his personal dealings and doings, I don't think people would take such a hard stance or like a derogatory approach to Aaron Rodgers. I do believe it's how it plays out, especially when it played out when he took on an entire front office. He took the whole front office on, and some would say assassinated them, like destroyed them, like that the front office of Green Bay did not win that battle rap between them and him. He came out and he did what Nas did to Jay-Z. He ethered them. And
they're still there, though.
Yeah, but it didn't matter.
There's no but. No one got fired.
No, there is a but. There is a but because that's still public perception. It's not like and I'm not debating whether he's a coach killer or not. I'm debating the fact of him being transparent. That's one thing. But when you're transparent and your transparency is you're taking on the establishment, like some people are going to be okay with it. Some people aren't. Some people might not even care about Green Bay and just might be like, dang, like this dude is flexing on the front office. It's more about the perception. It's not about the end result of them getting fired. It's not about that. It's about how people are viewing him. If I'm reading your what you're saying correctly. So in the end, to me, when I look at Aaron Rodgers, why do people take hardline stances on? Because he does things that I believe are abrasive. They can be abrasive. It could be considered to be confrontational, and it's confrontational with your group, with your franchise. You know,
you want me to be? Hold on. So I'm not going to disagree with that. What I'll say is, I think the difference is like he's doing it, and you didn't, or those other players didn't. Like the reality is, as players, we've all felt in a way how he's felt. The difference is, it's like I was never a 4-time MVP, so I ain't saying crap. Like I'm not gonna have that sort of power to flex.
Oh, I've flexed. So I can't. You can't say I didn't. I did flex, and in fact, not only did I flex, I gave $2 million back so I could become a free agent.
And that's getting out. Getting out of contract. Whatever. I'm saying it's very, very different with how he's handled everything the way he's handled it, right? You didn't go to Egypt
No, I did not.
and miss minicamp,
No,
right?
I did not. Nor would I, because I'm gonna do my
Okay,
job.
And then that's part of it, and it's different. But like, there's elements of like he's been honest about like what he's prioritized, what he's talked about. There's probably players that wish they could do that.
Oh, I'm
And
sure.
they don't have the ability to do that.
But let's build on that point, because that was a point I was getting to when I said what I said, when Jonas was saying what he was saying in terms of the damage. The damage is done to Aaron Rodgers right now, and the key people that it may be done to are those players in the locker room. That may be where the most damage is taking place. We don't know what the relationships between the rest of those guys and some of the most influential guys in that locker room, what that may have been with Robert Saleh. I've never gotten anything in the media where players were like with the coach that left the Raiders. A lot of players were like complaining about like how he was as a person, or their interactions. I've never heard anything bad about Robert Saleh as a person or as a coach. Never heard it. Now, what his results have been, that's another conversation. But I've never heard anybody have any ill will towards him as it applies to the players. So then that now makes me wonder, what is the damage that's done if the public perception of all of this, whether reality or fake news, it's in these players' heads that the reason why our coach is not here anymore is because of one player and one player only, because of one thing. And that could be a damaging factor, if you ask me, as it applies to how this team moves forward. Are they going to rally, or are they not?
But we're putting on Rodgers, and we don't even know if he had any involvement whatsoever.
I get it.
And by the way, if Rodgers is a coach killer, I mean, Alan Lazard was with the Packers and the Jets too when those firings happened. So is he a coach killer too? It's like, come on, what are we?
Well, I would say he's actually extended the careers of a lot of players too.
And gotten a lot.
There's a lot of guys who've benefited from playing with him.
I'll be interested to see how the players respond to everything that's going on.